Welcome to another edition of Dan's Models, where we feature 50s boxcars or something. And this week we're featuring a Southern Pacific boxcar that actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah, this is actually this one has a date of 1947 on it, so it could even be older than the 50s if you wanted to. But I'm using it in a 50s train, so
I think 47 to 50 is reasonable, right?
Yeah, it's almost there.
It would still be there.
Yeah. So anyway, this is actually a HS scale red Caboose kit car that I built. One that I actually bought because I decided to do this 50s train. This particular kit, there's a really neat website. If you look up, I think if you Google SP prototype HO models, you'll get to the page.
Yeah.
But somebody has done a very nice job of listing all of the HO scale models that are actually authentic.
Oh.
SP cars. This is one of them. This is a pretty good representation of SP B50-23 class boxcar.
Mm-hmm.
And I also looked it up in the Southern Pacific Freight Cars Volume 4 by Anthony Thompson.
Okay.
Which has really good information on it and a couple of pictures. And actually, that's how I discovered that this particular car had a roof walk that's a gypsum pattern.
Oh.
I actually used a Plano. I substituted a Plano roof walk like a lot of the other cars that I've done. But they offer those in several versions. And there's the Apex version, which is like a grate, and there's the Morton, which has little holes. Yeah. And then the gypsum has like a diamond pattern. And so there's no way that I could have told from photos that was correct, because it's hard enough to find photos of vintage cars and let alone roof shots.
Yeah, that would be pretty difficult.
But there's a neat little chart in that book that actually tells you, all the different, for all these different classes of boxcars, that it lists like all these different details about them.
Yeah, the author must have found the information on their blueprints or something, right? He did, or plans or whatever.
The book is well worth it if you really want a good piece of information, because he obviously did his research. Don't know how he got all this information, but
authors research a lot.
Yeah,
as we know from talking to Henry Bender.
Yeah, I mean he did his homework for sure. So well worth it if you're a Southern Pacific modeler.
So what is it again?
It's called Southern Pacific Freight Cars, and this Volume 4 is the one on boxcars. I'm not sure if it's... I think they've kind of been in print and been out of print and then been re-released, but you can also find them in used,
Right, but Anthony Thompson?
Anthony Thompson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you can scan the cover. We can put it up there so people can see it, because I think that sounds to me like a really great resource for people.
Yeah.
Especially SP fans, right? So
right. So I kept the weathering fairly light on this model. Didn't do too much to it other than a little bit of dust with the airbrush, a little bit of black powder on the seams.
Yeah, I can see the old seam trick.
Yeah. My goal with all of these cars is to make them look like well-maintained in-service cars. And so this one is a little on the lighter side, but I think it contrasts well with some of the other cars that I did that are a little heavier on the weathering.
Yeah.
So I think when they're all in a train, it'll look pretty good.
I can't wait to see this. I've said this for a couple of weeks now on this program, and here's the thing. Okay, so for the people who subscribe to our channel, we're working on a DCC train run-by video, and it will be out later this year. So, stay tuned, because when it comes out, you're going to see all these cars that we've been watching for weeks now on this train, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
It will. I can't wait. I mean, this is really cool.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how many of these I have now. When I started this, I had maybe 5 or 6 cars of that era,
I know the answer to that question. The answer is a lot.
Yeah. No, I know for sure I have more than 20. I don't know. Probably more like 25. I'm not sure.
So it's going to be as far as models go, it'll be a pretty long train too.
Yeah. So it should be pretty cool. One of the things I had laying around was some Intermountain wheels with the 88 tread. That's the semi-fine scale. It's a little narrower tread than the standard HO wheels, but they still work on regular track okay. The reason I did that is because there was a time when I didn't know better, and I had a lot of those wheels on cars that really should have had 36-inch wheels. And then later I corrected that. So I ended up with this little stockpile of 33-inch wheels. And since, modeling mostly the 90s, when most cars have 36-inch wheels, I just didn't have a lot of occasion to use them.
Mm-hmm.
But building all these vintage box cars,
Yeah.
I was like, I should use some of those wheels, because a lot of these older kits, they come with plastic wheels. I don't ever use plastic wheels.
Yeah, you might as well use what you have and improve the model at the same time, right?
Right. So I also, when I put the Cadies on it, I actually, instead of using the kit coupler boxes, I used the Cadie coupler boxes and tapped them for 256 screws and screwed them on. So it's a little more solid that way. A lot of these older kits, the coupler boxes that come with the kit are designed to be glued on, which is okay, but it's really better if their couplers are removable, so in case you ever have to change one.
Yeah.
Usually you don't. I mean, it's hard to break a Cadie, but
it's better to have it be stronger and more usable, right?
So. Right. I actually bent my own uncoupling levers for this because the store-bought ones are starting to get kind of expensive.
Oh yeah, we talked about that last time.
Yeah, and
I think it was last time.
Well, one of the recent ones, yeah, there's a limit to how much I'm willing to spend on a bent piece of wire, and really it's not that hard to bend your own.
Yeah.
So,
what would you recommend for people who want to make their own? It's probably a brass wire, but what gauge?
I used phosphor bronze because I happen to have some laying on my workbench. But either that or brass would work because it's easy to work with and bends easy.
What gauge though?
This is like 012.
Okay.
That's not a wire gauge. That's inches. You could use 015 wire. That would be okay too. 010 wire is a little light. Probably a little.
Well, I don't know. I'm just asking. That's why I thought maybe somebody who wants to build their own would use.
Yeah, the 012 seems to work pretty well. And when you paint it, it gets a little bigger, because the thickness of the paint adds to it a bit.
Yeah.
So, but it's easy to work with. And other than that, you just need a good pair of needle nose pliers. I have some Xuron ones that have they're nice because they have a really small head. So when you're doing fine work, it makes it a little easier to grab the wire. Once you figure out how to do it, it's pretty quick and definitely better than spending $1.25 a piece for
that just seems
a piece of wire.
Seems kind of out of line,
Yeah, it's pretty expensive, I think. Another thing I did was I substituted the original air hoses with the high-tech rubber hoses.
Oh, right, yeah. The bendable, durable ones.
Yeah, because these are so easily snapped off if they're made of plastic. So I've started to use more and more of these high-tech ones. High-tech makes them several styles depending on the era and type of car. But this is the type that has the bracket, and I just glued it onto the bottom of the car. I think it looks good and is durable.
So yeah, good job. It's another model that I'm really looking forward to seeing on that 50s train.
Yeah, that should be pretty fun to see. I haven't even seen the train altogether. So
yeah, but maybe I've seen as much of it as you have now. You know?
Because right now I don't have a layout that's big enough to fit all the cars together.
And neither do I.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see what it looks like when it's done, and gives everybody else something to look forward to when it comes out, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure that we'll be mentioning on the podcast and on the channel. I might even make a trailer for this video that's going to be coming out. So
yeah,
I guess we'll just have to see. So, all right. Well, we'll see you next week.
Yeah. See ya.